had oil embargoes, and some of us in the room remember waiting on lines at gas stations because there wasn't gas to be had. The problem's been with us, and we haven't done a very good job of solving it. So I think this conversation at least will make people be more aware.
So you're mentioning an upcoming meeting?
Well, we have a town budget meeting in May. We don't have another official town meeting until that. There are potential times when you could have an audience to share some of these things with. Not necessarily to vote on a resolution, but to at least inform people of this is something that's being discussed.
So maybe you could fill us, oh, did somebody else, sorry.
Yeah.
Bob Denny?
Thank you. First of all, thank you all for coming this evening. I think this has been educational, and I'm glad to have learned what I just learned from the two of you. Without going into a discussion of whether or not I agree with you or not, you can see that the four of us on the council that are here tonight just spent the last 30 minutes having this discussion and I speak only for myself that I'm not sure what the right thing to do is as far as your program is concerned. Imagine that the council, should the council decide to put this on the warrant, it would then go to a budget advisory committee that is comprised of a dozen
12
or so people to have this same discussion, which I don't think could be done in 30 minutes. And from there, if the budget advisory committee, after they hear about it, then it would go to the town meeting where you might have 100 people. And out of those 100 people, there may very well be 60 people who think this is a great idea and 40 people who don't. I think our job, sitting here as the council, is to plow the roads, provide police and fire protection and other things that the town does that nobody else can do. I spent enough time in Augusta to know that a resolution, which the state does a lot of resolutions where they implore the federal government to do something, when it gets to they may actually craft a letter, I know they do, and they send it off to Washington. I don't think it amounts to a damn. And I don't think whether or not the townspeople of Oakland pass a resolution and send that off to either Augusta or Washington is helpful to you in any way. I think you have friendly people in both, in the majority in both Augusta and Washington to try to do something about climate change. And I think that we need to stick to what we do best and let them do what they do best. So I can't support a resolution.
Well, yeah, so I'm just wondering, you know, this is one of the things that, and I don't want to take a ton more time, but one of the things that we thought we would find out by coming here is what are the possible ways to bring this to the public of this town. I mean, other towns that are involved with this have had people go collect petition signatures so that it can then be placed on the warrant. Would that be a possibility? I mean, it seemed, and you mentioned that it would have to go to another committee, the budget committee?
Yes, anything that the council puts on the warrant, the town meeting, then goes to the budget advisory committee where there will be another discussion that will take an hour and a half, I guess, on this particular issue. And at the end of the day, if that works, then it goes to 100 people sitting at the gym who will vote one way or another. And it may take them several hours for everybody to express their opinion. And then it's going to be a letter sent to Angus King, who is already in favor of this. If you don't think he is, he will be when you get to him.
Well, we've had a lot of conversations with him, yes.
So I don't think that's a good function for the use of the time for us, the budget advisory, and the citizens of the town of Oakland. And it's not particular to your issue. I don't care what your issue is. So that's my.
Yes, I understand your point. we wouldn't bring an issue like this to this kind of forum if we didn't think that it's a crisis. So that's why we're bringing it here, and, well, I understand the time constraints that people have. I would only suggest that bringing it into the local conversation in this manner would be beneficial in the long run, regardless of whether this policy is ever enacted or not. As Mr. Gorman says, we need to do something, and I'm not here to preach,
No, I don't doubt that a discussion would be a wonderful thing. And
Yeah.
I would suggest you
But not on your time.
that you contact the newspaper and try to organize a meeting.
Try to organize a meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this is the right venue. But that's just me.
Dan?
I'll make a motion that we do not include this on our warrant this year.
Motion's made, do we have a second? Second by Bob. All in favor?
Thank you, folks.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks
Good
for
job.
taking the time to listen.
Thank you. The next item up on the agenda is the Spirit of America.
Okay, you've got a list of the updated list we've had person added on that. And what I would like you to do is just give me a note who you would choose out of those.
You want me to go around and collect them for you, Gary, or?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah?
So, I'm not going to read out loud who they are. You've got the notes on there. But there is a letter that I just included that came in today to make the 5th nomination. And I apologize for not getting that to you earlier. It just came in today. So if you could just give me an idea of who your suggestions are, we'll move on with that.
Why can't collect the notes? Let's go ahead on the item number 4, discussing road dues.
Yeah.
I brought this to Gary the other day.
Bob's confused.
Huh?
Bob's confused.
Yeah.
That's nothing new.
So I brought this to Gary the other day, just to throw it out there. My road has contacted me and asked me if I'd bring it forward. The property that is on Willie Point down there that we have now taken possession of 209 Willie Point, he has road dues that he has to pay. We do have a road association, and the road dues is up to $3,000. We do whatever we want to do.
Okay, and when
John
Mike,
knows you wish to live.
Hasn't changed, that, same ones too.
Yep, same one, yeah.
and when Mike brought this to my attention, my question on this whole thing is legally, are we required to, do we even have the authority to pay these dues? So I sent a letter out to Bernstein Shore, and I sent you all a copy of their response. And I don't know if you have that in front of you. If you do, if you got 1, 2, 3, the 4th paragraph down, it starts out with statutory road associations and non-profit road associations can record a notice of claim, read, amounts owed in a registry that's good for 18 months from the date of recording. And this may be extended by filing a notice of extension. Before recording this claim, the road association must first give notice to the owner. In your case, the road association never recorded any liens against the old owner, and as mentioned above, even if they had done that, your tax lien foreclosure would have extinguished those liens. In a nutshell, the town has no liability for the past due assessments prior to the automatic tax lien foreclosure. Technically, after the town foreclosed on the acquired property by the tax lien foreclosure, it would be the new owner and liable for assessments starting the time of its ownership. So basically what that boils this right down to is, yes, we are responsible for $300 of the tax lien, legally responsible for that. But you as a council have the authority to make a decision to change that. That's why we're sitting here. You can make a vote to pay full $3,000 when you sell that property, or you can make a vote to sell $300 and to pay $300 in tax lien. Decision and discussion is up to you.
On the surface of it, it appears we should be paying the current $300 assessment. I just think it's probably bad practice for us to start paying off liens that anybody might have against the property, even with the current owner. Can he use that for his own benefit to say, well, you know, you owed me money and you're not paying me back money? I'm not sure where it can go, but I just think it's probably not to our best interest to get involved with something like
And
that.
there is no current lien on it. I mean, it hasn't.
No, it's just the $300 current fee.
Yeah, the current.
But
lien
if
was-
there was another lien by somebody else that hadn't been submitted.
Right,
and
we'd
they
be
said-
open, we'd be setting precedent on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else?
I'm
Sean?
a taxpayer and I wouldn't support doing it. It's a private road. And I lived out there for 20 years, so I know what it's like.
Yep.
But still, it's, the rest of the town shouldn't have to pay that, in my opinion.
Bob?
I'm in for 300.
Personally,
That's the current. Don't be silly now, I don't have 300. I think it's, you gotta pay the current assessment that the town owns it. We don't know when we're gonna own it and when we're gonna get rid of it.
It's gonna sell pretty quick. Next council meeting, you'll be voting on taking an offer on it.
maybe we should table this till next month.
The new people do it.
We want a motion?
You want a motion?
I'd make a motion, we pay him $300 for this year's dues.
Motion made, do we have a second?
Like,
Second by Bob, all in favor? I'm not voting on it. I live there. So, that way. Okay, moving on, mutual aid agreement between Skowhegan and Oakland Fire.
You probably saw in the newspaper about a mutual aid agreement between Skowhegan and the town of Oakland. Well, that was the first time I heard of it, too.
That's great.
And so, just to clarify what's going on here, the fire department has been given the authority to sign mutual aid agreements with other towns without input from us. I mean, it's just part of the regional concept and all that stuff. And so I did talk with the chief about it, and I did get some verbiage on it. You have a copy of the mutual aid agreement. We function a little differently down here than some of these other towns do. We have mutual aid agreements currently, and I'm going to read this to you because Chief Coughlin had a second COVID shot, and he's not feeling so well right now, so he didn't make it in. We have mutual aid agreements with Belgrade, Sydney, Rome, and Smithfield, and they're all our automatic mutual aid partners. Other agreements with Waterville, Fairfield, Skowhegan, Clinton, and Albion, and Orangewater. We're currently working on a mutual aid agreement with Winslow and Augusta. They would all typically be second and third alarm fires. So this is all broken down by the alarm fires. I mean, this is part of their code work. And take a task force if they ask. So this is part of them coming down to help us. They've said that they went up to Skowhegan one time in the last couple of years because they had something really bad happening up there, and we ended up sending a crew up there. But we also have them at our fingertips. If we have something that's horrible, they can come down, a school fire or something. So, you know, there was nothing nefarious. It just the newspaper got hold of it. The newspaper never gets hold of anything when it gets, you know, with the mutual aid agreement. Any questions on that? Yes, Bob?
Do we have, or do the fire departments have a sort of a built-in safeguard that they don't go more than so many miles radius? You know, again, what may happen in the future? Suppose Gardner and Winthrop decide that it would be nice to have a mutual aid with Oakland, and maybe Topsom and Brunswick. Who knows how many of these mutual aids could show up? And I'm just curious, and it's not for this discussion here, but have they sort of mapped out in their mind, we're not going further than X number of miles because we just can't do it. We take our people and ship them 50 miles somewhere. Is that in anybody's interest? Maybe it is.
Well,
I'm just
you know,
curious.
that's a good question. I don't have answers for it, but you
I
have
didn't expect you to.
remember back when they had the big fire up in Canada with the railroad burnt
Yep.
town down. I mean, there was firefighters from Farmington going up there and helping that. I mean, even though there's no mutual aid agreement, people still, I mean, they pull together and make it all happen. The fire department's a pretty unique organizations, and, you know, they do a good job, so.
They did the same thing with Farmington when that building blew up too. There was fire departments from all over there helping.
Yeah, we had a crew over there, didn't we? I think we said something.
Yes, we did. Yeah, Sandy did.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, they all work together, and it's for life and property. And so there's nothing bad about any of this stuff. And, you know, the other thing is, as our resources get smaller, because less and less people are getting involved in these things, you have to draw from larger communities and further distances away. I mean, look at what we have right now. I mean, we have aging workforce over here. We have a part-time fire department, or a per diem, or volunteer in a lot of this stuff. You know, we need resources that sit beyond our boundaries. And Skowhegan does too, even though they have a full-time fire station. Fire department. Okay, good.
Next thing up on the agenda is to sign the sewer commitment. Ms. Jan, has that?
I do.
While she's bringing that around, do you have anything else you want to bring up, Jan?
I'm all set, sir.
Looking around, Mr. Cox, do you have anything tonight?
Ms. Kelly,
Mr. Nutting, I'll skip you away. Oh, you're done signing? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Nutting, do you have anything on your-
Well, actually, just to mention that you all probably saw that the comprehensive plan was approved by the state with a few very minor wordage changes, and
Good job.
I think everybody did a good job, and I will probably send out a letter to everybody on the committee just thanking them.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Garvin and I were talking about that, trying to figure out where that was going to come from. You just solved the issue right there. Let me know that you're going to take care of it.
I'll take care of it.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
That's all.
I do have one more thing. Dawn asked me for a list of third-party requests that we didn't cover last year. You've got a copy of that. I put it on your desk. Total on that $16,000.